Welcome to another Q&A session for the best club in history, Real Madrid, hosted by Gael Manny. This is a Madridismo.org production.
Hi everybody, welcome and thanks for listening. I'm Gael for Madridismo.org and I'm joined in today's Q&A by two fellow members of our team, Aaron and Apekshit, and in a little while we'll be joined by Tanuj also. So for those of you who've been following our Q&As, you're already pretty familiar with Apekshit. He's our pre-game and post-game specialist, and we thank him a lot for his participation because he's almost always there. Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you so much. It's really good to be back again. Thank you.
I'm glad. And so today you're going to become acquainted with Aaron, who you might already know for his post-game winners and losers. Hi, Aaron. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Our pleasure. So, I was actually looking forward to this session because Aaron, you're kind of vocal about your opinions, and I'm thinking that we're going to have a good time. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'd love to be part of the conversation.
Okay, so let's start. I would say that the game, yesterday's game was really good. The team played well. We received a goal, but I think it was pretty controversial. We'll discuss that later on. And aside from that, the team played well. Some players individually really shone. And we had great finishing this time. So maybe, Aaron, you want to go first? Tell us about your general feeling about the game.
Overall, I was really pleased with this match. I've felt lately that the performances of Madrid have been not quite up to snuff, trying to work out different tactics, dealing with fatigue. But I think we really took the match to Osasuna, and it was well worth waking up 6 o'clock a.m. local time to watch this match.
Yay! Good. Okay, and you, Apekshit?
Yeah, well, I thought the same. We played really, really well. And we shouldn't forget that the game against Leon wasn't a walk in the park. I mean, the players, they really worked hard, and it was a really tough game, And coming off the back of that game, I thought we showed no fatigue, and the players looked really, really fresh, and we just lambasted,
Osasuna?
and and we won 7-1. So I thought it was a great result for us.
Okay. And what about Osasuna? Did you think there was subpar or something?
Osasuna, I thought they failed to control the possession well,
Yeah.
And they just kept losing the ball cheaply, and we certainly made the most of it. But in the last few games, the problem was the second half. We used to take the foot off the gas a little. But
Yes.
but then in the last game, I thought we were absolutely brilliant. The players were hungry. That insatiable hunger should be there in you to win matches. And that was there in the players yesterday. But then one thing which actually worries me is we might be peaking at the wrong time. We might be peaking at the wrong time. Which means later on when we play against big clubs, it might be a problem for us. So we need to take care of that. We need to perform consistently to win the La Liga title this season.
Okay, Aaron, you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely would agree. There's always the issue of a false sense of confidence when you run over some of the smaller teams in the league. I mean, traditionally, historically, we tend to have more difficulty with the smaller teams than the larger teams. In the past couple of seasons, teams like Valencia and Sevilla haven't given us as much trouble as, say, Levante has already. But I feel like, in particular, this team seems a little bit more motivated, concentrated, and patient than we've seen teams in the past. And you also have to remember that we're going into an international break, and it's always a good thing to enter an international break on a high note.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay, so about the starting lineup, I felt I was pretty traditional. But at the same time, given that Las had played so well in the past game, well, Apekshit, you said you thought so. I don't know if, Aaron, you agreed with that. I was thinking maybe, he would get to play again two games in a row, as a right back. So I don't know if for you that was a surprise that he wasn't playing, or on the other hand, you think that no, Arbeloa should always play and unless he's injured. So I don't know.
Well, it was quite a surprise, to me, because I thought Las Diarra was the man of the match against Leon. As we discussed
Yeah,
last
I
time.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I think his work rate was amazing, and he did everything. He passed the ball well. He won the tackles in the midfield, and I was quite surprised. I thought he should have started, but then Mourinho, maybe he's trying to try a new lineup, maybe for the bigger game. So it's quite difficult to say what's in Mourinho's mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think what the issue is here is that Las just isn't one of Mourinho's favorites. And for better or for worse, Mourinho tends to stick with his favorites more often than not. And despite Las's fantastic performance against Lyon, don't get me wrong, I was incredibly pleased to see him perform that well in the right back position, because it's always nice to see the versatility of our squad. I just think when there's something close to a full-strength squad ready to go, I mean, obviously, Marcelo was out. That was a major blow. But I think with Contrao, with Arbeloa ready to go, Las was always going to have a hard time finding his way into the starting spot. But again, that's nothing. That's not to say that I don't think Las deserved to not start, but I think with the players available to Mourinho, and the other thing is, it's important to remember the defense more than any other section of the field needs consistency. They need to be out there playing with a solid group, forming a really strong working relationship. So you really want to try and avoid rotation in your defense as much as possible.
Oh, okay.
He's definitely going to get his chances this season, which is great. I hope, he kind of quits with this whole "I want out of Madrid" crap. But I think for this game, it was always going to be unlikely that Las was going to start.
Okay. Well, one thing I noticed, I wrote it down, but then I didn't include it in the questions. But since you're mentioning it, I noticed yesterday that at some point, I think it was Ramos that kind of, made a mistake and he lost the ball. And right away, I don't remember who that was, but one of the defenders was right there, and that reminded me when you said that they need to work very close together and get used to how they play with each other. I thought about that because it's like you have each other's back really in case one of them makes a mistake. So
absolutely. The thing, and I can't remember that play in particular, but I wouldn't doubt it if it was actually Xabi Alonso, because I think Alonso, Ramos, and Pepe are forming a fantastic sort of triumvirate in the middle of our defensive formation. There was frequent times where yesterday afternoon in Spain, yesterday morning here, where either Ramos or Pepe would push up and Xabi Alonso would drop back as another central defender. And it was really impressive to see the understanding and the total communication that was taking place there. And when we play with Pepe and Ramos, we have two center backs that are fully capable of pushing forward and being offensive threats, not just on corner kicks, but also in the run of play. Pepe makes some marauding runs, as we saw yesterday.
Yeah.
And Ramos has wonderful technical ability. He came up through the youth ranks playing striker a bit when he was younger. So he definitely has that instinct of pushing towards the goal, and he has a fantastic ability to spray the ball around. Not quite Xabi Alonso level, but, with his play as a right back, he's really cultivated that ability to find the open man and get the ball to him. So it's really, really impressive to see Ramos able to push up, Xabi able to fall back, and that helps put the other team kind of off balance. They don't know who to cover. They don't know whose position is where, and those runs tend to cut through zones of defense. So if you're playing a more zonal type defense, it's going to confuse that as well.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Right. Wait, I'm writing that down. Okay. Pekshi, do you want to add anything about that? Make sure you
Yeah,
speak up, okay? Thanks.
yeah, sure. Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to tell you about Ramos a little. Well, in the last game, I remember he tried a bicycle kick, but he
Yeah.
did not quite, yeah, but he did not quite pull it off well. But then this again goes to show his confidence level, and I think his crossing is also very decent. He can whip the ball with pace in the box, which is very important.
Yeah.
And yeah, but in the last match, I thought he again lost the ball in dangerous areas. But thankfully, we have Pepe who can actually cover it up, for him. And in defense, it's like you watch my back, I'll watch yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we play with the partnership, I think we can really do well this season.
Okay. 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 Another thing I wanted to talk about was we already mentioned it in the first question a little bit, but it was that I was a bit worried at halftime because I thought, okay, so we pretty have the match covered to this point, and maybe they're gonna, I don't know, like something's gonna happen, and it's gonna be a tale of two halves again. I was a little worried, and it didn't happen at all. So, do you think it was because Osasuna was playing with 10 players, or because we were just well rested, or I don't know, because Osasuna wasn't playing as well, or I don't know. I don't know if there's a clear-cut answer that you can give to that, but maybe you can have an opinion.
Yeah. Well, I thought playing with 10 men is always difficult. You have to give that 20% extra, which I thought they failed to do. This is why they conceded 4 more goals in the second half. Well, in the first half it was 3-1, but then after going a man down, the floodgates just opened.
Yeah,
And yeah, and I also thought that the players they showed a lot of hunger yesterday, which we did not get to see in the previous few games, especially in the second half, because after you score the first goal and you play it safe like that, and a 1 goal lead, if you try and defend it's always difficult. Teams can always score late in games, and they can just walk away with the share of the spoils. So yesterday I felt that Ronaldo especially he looked very very hungry for goals, and he scored a and he scored a brilliant hat trick.
yeah,
So yeah, so I thought they looked hungry. This is why we scored 7 yesterday.
yeah. You can't complain about Cristiano for yesterday.
No, absolutely not. I thought he was really really good. He was really
Okay.
good. Maybe he
Aaron?
was
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah. Yeah, maybe he was spurred on after receiving the Golden Shoe Award.
Yeah.
That spurred him on. I thought.
I think there was two factors that played heavily in the hunger, because there was definitely hunger there. Number one, I think Real Madrid got really mad after that goal, and I know we'll talk about that
Yeah.
goal later,
Yeah.
but you could really tell after Osasuna scored that goal, it wasn't just that the Madrid players were angry that they got scored on, but that they got scored on in that way. You
Yeah.
could really, really see it in the celebration after Pepe's goal. But overall, I think their entire play showed that they were kind of holding a little bit of a grudge, and they were totally willing to rub it in on Osasuna. The other thing, and I sort of mentioned this before, was the international break. There's always this sort of drive to go into the international break with as strong of a victory as possible. So I think the players were thinking about that. I think Mourinho was thinking about that. I think Mourinho has had a heavy part in sort of having his players step off the gas in the second half in the last couple of games. Not give up possession, step off the gas, but just try to conserve themselves a little bit more, because he's a smart guy. He realized that there was a lot of fixture congestion in the last month. There was going to be a lot of games. So his players had to play smart. They had to win the game early and then kind of, conserve themselves, not get injured, not run themselves ragged. But with this game, again, not the same problem. So they had the opportunity to go out there and really push themselves going into this international break, knowing that a lot of them aren't going to see very significant minutes in this international break because, European qualifiers are mostly over.
Yeah.
Because, except for the playoffs, it's going to be a lot of friendlies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So basically, they wanted to punish Osasuna.
Yeah, they wanted to punish Osasuna, and they wanted to give themselves sort of a pep going into the break.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll talk about the goal later because maybe Tanuj will have joined back then. But I would like to discuss a little bit Di Maria. And, Aaron, I like Di Maria a lot. So not in a kind of crazy fan type of way, but I like how he works. I like his work ethic. So he played great yesterday. He provided 3 assists, and I know you don't like people who say, "Oh, what if?" But I'm thinking if he hadn't got injured, he might have provided more even. So. And he was very, he made great passes. He was very hardworking. So I was wondering how you feel about him and his role in the team. And then, there's another question because, he works very hard, but maybe he got overzealous yesterday. And I remember with a pick sheet last time we talked about how players, especially I think we were talking about Cristiano, sometimes they do some kind of like tricks and they can get injured because the defender gets mad or not mad, but tries to defend and they get injured because of it. So I was thinking of a pick sheet you thought also that Di Maria just went too far on this action and he shouldn't have, and now he's injured and who knows what's going to happen. So both things really, his role and then was he like, did he go too far with the action that caused him to be injured?
Yeah, well, I thought Di Maria, he has been working hard for the team for the last so many games, and he also throws his body around. But then yesterday, that hamstring injury which he picked up, was I thought it was bad luck. He was trying to do he was trying to do a little bit extra, as you said. So maybe he did not warm up properly because warming up. No, I mean players who fail to warm up properly, they pick up these injuries, hamstring injury, calf injury. So, but then I thought he played for about 45 minutes, and he tried to do a little extra, because of which he pulled his hamstring. So I think he's going to be out for about 3 weeks. I think. I hope it's not more. And as far as his performance is concerned, I thought he was brilliant last night. For me, he was the man of the match.
Yeah.
His passes were absolutely amazing, and I thought had he stayed on the pitch for a little bit longer, he would have provided many more passes, and he probably would have nicked 1 goal.
Okay.
For me, Di Maria is, well, like in any good Hollywood action movie, there's always the group. Yeah, there's always the group that has there's always the group member that's the wild card. He's the joker of the deck. He's the one that does the unexpected. And Di Maria is that in this squad. He is the least predictable member. He'll have you screaming your head off in joy 1 second and screaming your head off in anguish the next, because, he can produce the absolutely sublime and the terribly ridiculous. And I think he showed that off in this match as well. He wasn't quite my man of the match, but I think he had a great game, or a great half is pretty much what he was able to put in. I think that he was getting a lot of joy both on the right flank and the left flank, and that's always nice to see Di Maria doing. I think his injury was one of those fluke kind of things. It was right near the beginning of the second half, and what happens sometimes is even when you have a good stretching routine, even when you have a good warming up routine, sometimes those muscles are just a little bit tight, and if you try to put on that extra burst of pace to save the ball going out, which is what happened.
Yeah.
Sometimes the muscles just don't respond properly. You get a little bit of a tear, and there's really no one you can blame for that but fate. And I don't think it was the same sort of thing that sometimes gets Ronaldo into trouble, where he's doing those fancy flicks, those little, no-look passes, stuff like that, and frustrating defenders. I think this was just Di Maria doing what Di Maria does best, which is working his skinny butt off.
Yeah.
And if he's not doing that, he's not playing like Di Maria does. So I wouldn't have it any other way. It's tragic that he got injured, but I think he had a fantastic performance. And I keep talking about this international break, but again, it's significant here because a lot of his time out, if it's just 3 weeks or I've heard a month, a good chunk of that is going to be during the international break. And then, of course, after he comes back, there's going to be that transition time where he's getting back up to match fitness. But I think this is going to give him a chance to sort of recharge his batteries, which is always nice, and it gives us a chance to see the depth of our squad.
Yeah.
Callejon hasn't really played very much, and he can definitely play a sort of similar style to Di Maria, a little bit less assist-oriented, a little bit more direct, but it should be fantastic to see him maybe get some playing time.
Okay, good. Well, one thing I noticed yesterday, and I think, Aaron, you mentioned it a little already, is that Di Maria was on the left side a lot. And the commentators were saying like, oh, that's weird because he's, which one is it? The right foot, I think it is. It's not his best foot, so it's weird that he's there. And I know that sometimes the players, during the building of a play, they kind of switch sides because the building of the play requires so. But then they kind of go back to where they belong. And they didn't do that yesterday with Cristiano. They really switched. So I was wondering why it was. Maybe because one particular player in Osasuna was, I don't know, causing a problem, or because they wanted to try something, or I don't know. Why do you think it was?
Well, for me, I think what it was trying to unbalance the Osasuna defense. They had a young kid in there playing on the left side, if I remember correctly. It was Satrustagi.
Yeah, the one who got the red card in the end, right?
Yeah,
Exactly,
that guy.
yeah.
I'm apologizing for butchering the pronunciation of his name.
I don't remember exactly what his name was, but it was his first game or something, right? That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. He had just been promoted up from the Osasuna B side. So
Yeah.
I think in particular what was happening was when Di Maria was playing on the right side, he would cut back on his left foot, and this particular defender was used to that kind of being the signal of, okay, I've done my job. I've made him cut back. He's not going to be able to get a cross in. He would sit back a little bit, give Di Maria time, and Di Maria would just ping in a ball with his left foot. That's how we got our first goal. Was Di Maria had tons of space, about 25, 30 yards out of the box, and he was able to just pick Ronaldo off because this guy was just so inexperienced that he wasn't capable of realizing that you can't let off on this player just because he switches to what would appear to be his off foot. So I think what was happening a lot was Di Maria was switching sides along with Ronaldo to unbalance the Osasuna side, to get them in a sort of rhythm and then break that rhythm and take advantage of that.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay.
But really, I felt that he was much more productive on the right side. If I remember correctly, all of his assists actually came in from the right side, where from the left side, I felt he was considerably less productive. The more screaming in anguish moments than the screaming in joy moments.
Oh, well, the commentators here, they would disagree with you because they were saying like, oh, he's not as strong with his right foot and you see he's missing opportunities and stuff. That's what they were saying. So.
Well, the thing is that he is a smart enough footballer to know that his right foot isn't as strong as his left foot, so he cuts back in. That's that's the reason that Cristiano Ronaldo plays on the left so frequently, is because he likes to cut back in, and that sets the ball up on your right foot and gives you the chance to take the clear shot with your stronger foot. So when he plays on the right, it lets him cut in with the left. When he plays on the left, it lets him send in more traditional crosses.
Okay, I see. Oh, that's interesting. Pekshit, you're a football player. Tell us.
Yeah, well, I think a professional footballer should use both the feet, but then I've hardly seen Di Maria using the right foot. So I think he should start using his right foot more often. I've hardly seen him using it. And when he plays on the left flank, it becomes really, really predictable. His game becomes predictable. But
Okay.
then when he plays on the right flank, he can mix it up a little. He can cut back and then again switch the ball to his left foot and then again put in a cross from there. So I think he should start on the left, but then he should change flanks and see.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is what I feel. Yeah.
All right. And what position do you play, Pekshit?
Well, I play forward.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And Aaron, do you play too?
Yeah, I played club ball for my university. I played primarily as a goalkeeper, so Apache and me were natural enemies.
Okay.
Well said,
Well,
Aaron.
not if you were on the same team.
Oh, no. Still rivals. If he doesn't score, he's a fool. If he does score, maybe he's all right for that day.
I see. A little bit of attitude here.
Well, goalkeepers and strikers can never be friends.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so next player I would like to talk about is Coentrao, because I think his first half was very good. Well, I don't know what about you, but I thought he was very good. He was more how do you say that? Like kind of silent and not too present in the second half, I felt. But the first half was good, and I remember he had a pretty good game last time too. And I saw very good passes from him to Higuain and Cristiano, especially in the 15th minute, I noticed. And also, it's his pass that led to the 6th goal for us. So, in general, about his last 2 games and his role in the team, how do you feel? And also, did you notice the absence of Marcelo at all, or did he fit in very well for you?
Well, I thought that Fabio Contrao had a decent game, but then when you juxtapose the two players, Marcelo and Contrao, we find that Contrao is probably a little bit better defensively than Marcelo. But then going forward, Marcelo gives you that edge. I've been watching the progress of Marcelo, and it's been absolutely amazing, I would say, because he's absolutely skillful. He's very, very skillful, and going forward, he can give you that edge. He can cross, he can dribble, he can score goals. So I think Contrao is a little better defensively, but then going forward, I would say Marcelo is much better than Contrao.
Okay, but I'm sorry, Aaron, I'll let you speak after. I want to say something. I hear a lot of people also say that Marcelo is a little messy somehow, like, he loses balls and stuff, and you're saying that you really like him, is very good, so I don't know.
No, well, I don't particularly like him as a defender, but then I think,
I see.
yeah, but then I think when you're down 2-1 or 3-1, he can surely do something. He can go forward and with his skills, he can probably cross in and pull a goal back, and the game can be on again.
Okay.
Yeah.
I find it fascinating that Contrao, I don't know how many of you can remember all the way back to the World Cup in South Africa, ancient times, but I thought he was electric in South Africa. He had pace, he had dribbling. He was one of the most exciting young players, in my personal opinion, in that tournament. So it's really fascinating to see that he's playing a little bit more reserved here at Madrid when he's getting his chances at his more traditional left back role. And I think that has a lot to do with Mourinho. I think Mourinho is a student of history. He's gone back. He's seen how Marcelo had difficulty when he first came to Madrid because his attacking skills have always been, very, very high. But for a while there, his defensive abilities were very, very suspect. So Mourinho is sending Contrao out with sort of instructions of, hey, your defensive duties come first. Anything you contribute to the attack is fantastic, but I want you to be a solid defender first. And Contrao is really taking that to heart and really trying to make sure that he's chipping in with the defense first and foremost. Because, let's be honest, we have a wealth of attacking ability on our side. We don't necessarily need a left back that's going to chip in with goals and assists. But if you look back to the season before we had Ozil, Marcelo, I believe, was our leading assist man. Like, he had the most assists on our team at the end of the season. So Marcelo is a fantastic offensive threat, as I've already said. And I think Contrao has the ability to offer something similar, but he does it in a different way. He does it with smarter positioning, which Marcelo has made huge gains in his defensive positioning. But as far as his offensive positioning, he tends to hang back a little bit more. He likes to receive the ball in more safe positions and then move it towards a more aggressive position, whereas Contrao likes to use space and his pace to get into those aggressive positions before receiving the ball. So I think it's really difficult to compare the two players as apples and apples. I think they both bring something fundamentally different to our game, kind of like Benzema and Higuain, both fantastic strikers, but they bring something different. Contrao and Marcelo bring something different. I think Contrao had a fantastic match. I was very pleased with what he was able to do. I think you're right. In the second half, he kind of let off a little bit. You also have to remember he's kind of carrying a little bit of a minor knock. Not something major, but that might have been reason for him more so than other players to kind of step off the gas a little bit, make sure he stayed healthy going into the international break. But I can't praise him enough. I think his positioning reminds me of Arbeloa a little bit, who does not get enough praise because his positioning is so sweet in my mind, Arbeloa. But Contrao on the left side provides outlets, gives us width. Definitely don't feel a huge gap when we're without Marcelo, who is a fantastic playmaker from the left wing and is always a really, really strong thing to have in your side as someone that can make something happen from all the way out on the flank.
Oh, yeah, okay. Another thing I was thinking when you were talking about Contrao is sometimes he plays as, I know the word in Spanish, what's the word in English? Like Cristiano's position, right? He played there. So he does have an attacking approach too, but yeah, when he defends, he just focuses on that, I guess.
I think that's primarily Mourinho's influence. Because, again, if you go back to South Africa, if you watch some of his play in the Portuguese league, he was not as cautious, as defensive-minded as he's been here. So I think that's primarily down to the coach giving him particular instructions. And Mourinho is fantastic about being very specific what he wants from his players, as opposed to, say, a Pellegrini, who is much more hands-off.
Okay. Well, that's funny that you should say that, because that leads me into the next question, and that's actually perfect. I wanted to ask a pig shit, but now that I know that both of you play football, although you don't play in the right position, maybe to answer that, but your experience of the team might help. The commentators were saying that Contrao was Mourinho was going to drive him crazy, because during the game, he was passing so much instructions onto him, and the commentators were saying, well, the guy has to play, be focused on what's going on with the opponent and the rest of the teammates and position himself right and stuff. And at the same time, Mourinho is giving him so many instructions for him and for the rest of his teammates. And so they were saying that it's typical that the right back or the left back, depending on the half of the game, was kind of like the messenger and being driven crazy by the coach. So I don't know if you have any personal experience about that.
Well, I don't have personal experience about it, but then I've seen coaches, calling players over and passing on the details. If Mourinho notices something which is really, really important and which he wants to be, which he wants changed, so he can always do it. But then calling the players over several times can actually bamboozle the players. If you give them if you tell them different things, they can get bamboozled, and then they wouldn't know which one to follow. So yeah, so I think managers should do it, but then they shouldn't do it repeatedly, because it can obviously bamboozle the players completely.
Okay.
Well, I had some experience playing right back, so the opposite flank, when I was a youngster. So for me, fullback is the toughest position on the field. I know every position has its difficulties, but for me, and I think this bears out when you look at the world-class fullbacks that are out there right now, and it's really, really sparse. Like, it's incredibly difficult to point at more than, a small handful of players and say these are the best fullbacks in the world, compared to, say, a position like striker, where, you can name 10 strikers that are world class off the top of your head without breaking a sweat, because this position is so cerebral. You have to have the defensive positioning of a center back. You have to have the endurance of a box-to-box midfielder. You have to have the playmaking skills of an attacking midfielder. So with this kind of position, you're constantly running, you're constantly thinking. You can't get caught out, but you have to help out. So I think with Mourinho, because he's so specific about what he wants, more is better. And with a player like Contrao, who I think is a pretty smart guy, I've never met him, so I can't say this for certain, but I get the sense that he's got a fairly high football IQ. I think he can take in these instructions and really make use of them to the point where any assistance that Mourinho can provide is fantastic. It's only going to help out. I mean, certainly there can be a moment where there's too much information coming in, but I think Mourinho is cognizant of that. He's not going to pass that threshold, and he's going to keep the instructions to a level where it's really being implemented into Contrao's game at the moment, as opposed to, hey, in 35 minutes I want you to do X, Y, and Z. He's keeping things fresh, and he's adapting his instructions to Madrid's play, to Osasuna's play, to Contrao's play, to the defensive line's play. So I think those instructions, while the commentators might be, talking their heads off about this, I doubt any of those commentators were professional fullbacks.
Yeah, so they just have to fill in a little.
Exactly. So, I mean, like I said, like we all kind of agreed, Contrao had a fantastic game. So I don't think that Mourinho was talking his head off. I think the instructions that he was providing were really helpful. So, yeah, I mean, it's a tough position. So any assistance that he can get is going to be helpful. And he's also getting help from his defensive line. You got to remember, Casillas is helping him out because he's a vocal keeper, which is I've heard always a nice thing. When I'm out there on the pitch, I'm yelling my head off at my defenders, helping them with their positioning, helping them to mark men. Casillas does the same thing, so that's got to be helpful. He's getting help from Pepe and Ramos. Pepe kind of being the old man of the defensive line, kind of funny to think about, but he's giving help to the youngster coming up. He's another Portuguese player, so that's got to be helpful. Yeah. He's getting help from Cristiano Ronaldo further up the field, giving him an outlet, giving him a man to, combine with, which is always great. And there's Angel Di Maria, who's flipping over to his side, who's providing a lot of space by making those darting runs, drawing those defenders. So I think Contrao is really going to be able to find himself in this squad, especially if maybe Mourinho decides to push him up, play him sort of as a I don't know if Ronaldo can ever be substituted. It's kind of boggling my mind how that man never comes off the pitch. But if some point he decides to step off the pitch, either voluntarily or Mourinho yanks him, I think Contrao might slot into that really well. And then he's also getting chances into the midfield, which sometimes there's an issue with a player being too much of a utility player. You play them all over the pitch in different spots, and they're never able to really gel in a particular role in the team. So that's the one thing I worry about with Contrao. But on the flip side, that's given him a lot of chances, a lot of opportunity to play and get familiar with his teammates.
Okay. Yeah, well, yeah, there was that game, I don't remember what happened. Cristiano would be injured or something, or maybe he got a red card. I don't think so. I don't remember. I'm sorry about that. But I know he didn't play. And Contrao played, but I didn't really like him there, I don't know. I had a feeling that he was in front of the goalie, and he would not dare to shoot, so he would pass the ball on to somebody else, and it was too late. The play was off timing suddenly. So I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I remember he had some trouble, not necessarily as a forward, but in more of the central midfielder position, when he was playing instead of Khedira, with not taking
Khedira.
his opportunities. Yeah. He was not really taking his opportunities. And this was earlier in the season. So you also have to remember, he's a new guy on the squad, so there's a lot of added stress and pressure. So sometimes when you get those options available, you want to take the safer option of passing it to the striker, the guy on the team that's supposed to score the goals, but instead maybe he should have taken the shot. But I think the longer he's with the team, the less that's likely to be a problem.
Okay. Apekshit, you agree?
Well, yeah. Yes, I agree. But then there's
a but.
Yeah, but I would just like to add that when you think you can score, you shouldn't shoot from 30, 40 yards out, but then if it's 15 yards out or 20 yards out, if it's a clear, if there are no defenders in the way, I think you should just shoot and you should try and destroy the keeper. I saw that ad by Nike, which says destroy the keeper. So you shoot as hard and as firm as you can, and you just try and score.
Okay.
Says the striker, of course.
Yes, of course.
But I think you're definitely right with that. But it was a confidence issue. It was a player that didn't quite know their role. So I think the longer Contrao's with the team, especially with a coach like Mourinho, the more comfortable he'll get with his role, the more likely he will to try and take those opportunities to destroy the keeper.
Yes, you're right. Confidence is the key. We see Ronaldo taking shots from 40, 45 yards out, and this only goes to show his confidence. Whereas players like Contrao, being in better positions also, they don't shoot. They just decide to pass the ball to the striker. So, yeah, it just comes down to the level of confidence.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing you got to remember is that he was taking over for Khedira, so maybe he was taking on Khedira's ability to never score a goal. Oh my gosh, how many opportunities does the German get, and he fails to put them away? He has gotten us a goal for us this season, so I take back some of that criticism. But for some reason, he just has so much difficulty putting the ball in the back of the net.
But it's not his job, though, is it?
Oh no,
it's not.
it's certainly not his job, but kind of along the discussion we were just having, when the opportunity arises,
Yeah.
you got to take it. Our central backs certainly don't stop to think about that. Arbeloa certainly doesn't stop to think about that. Marcelo certainly doesn't stop to think about that. Heck, I bet if Iker had a shot, he wouldn't stop to think about it. He would take it with two hands, bite his teeth down on it, and just tear away at it. So I think it's important to acknowledge that, yeah, Khedira's role is primarily to kind of carry the water with the team, so to speak. But you'd like to see him scoring a few more of these really fantastic opportunities he had. And a lot of times it just comes down to being unlucky. I remember a couple games back, he sort of had I can't remember if it was a volley or a half volley at the top of the box, and he took a fairly decent shot, but it got deflected by a defender jumping in the way. Those are the kind of goals that I'd like to see him eventually converting.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I would just like to add a little bit. When Ramos can try a bicycle kick against Leon, why can't Khedira score a few more goals for us?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
Definitely. But that's something we've kind of had issues with for a while now, because Las is sort of guilty of the same thing. And before we got Khedira, Las really was the one that made that position his own. And he I don't think got quite as opportune moments as Khedira to score goals, but he wasn't really chipping in with them. And Xabi Alonso also in that same kind of position. He's a little bit more playmaking minded, makes a little bit fewer runs into the box. He takes some long shots. Oh my gosh,
Yes.
that audacious attempt at catching the keeper out from beyond the half field line. But we really, for a while now, haven't had that goal scoring threat coming in from deep in our central midfield, which, again, we have enough attacking prowess on this team that's not a huge issue, but it would be nice to see maybe a few more goals being chipped in from the central midfield.
Apeksha, do you agree? Because I think you're kind of the kind of guy who likes things to be kind of straightforward, right? So strikers strikes and midfielders, they get the ball and they pass it forward, no?
Well, it's not the case, every time. But then when it comes to Las Diarra, I feel he plays a very restricted role. When we lose the ball, he tracks back, and he's supposed to be winning the battles in the midfield. So I'm not sure about Las Diarra, but then one thing is for certain. I mean, the more players go for us, it's always better. Because different scorers in a team can always win you games.
Mm-hmm.
So the more goal scorers we have, it's always better for us.
Okay.
I do want to disagree a little bit, because I think Khedira and Las play a very, very similar role. Las was perhaps a little bit more restricted than Khedira, but he has that freedom to make the occasional run, which I feel like that's been one of his major issues, is that the timing on his runs haven't been quite as opportune as maybe Khedira's have been. So we'll see how much playing time he gets in that sort of preferred role of central/defensive midfielder. But I'd like to see the timing of the runs be improved, because really the strikers strike, of course, but the central midfielders have a chance to disorient the opposition, because they're so used to defending against the strikers that a lot of times those central midfielders are granted more space, granted more time, because there's confusion when they make those runs, just like what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
When the center backs make those runs, they're sometimes able to ghost in. Sometimes they confuse their markers. They slip in through different zonal defense areas. And the other thing is, those distant shots often don't score, but what they require the keeper to do is be prepared for them. And as a goalkeeper, when you're worried about a long distance shot, you're in a different sort of position than if you don't have to be worried about it. So when you're keeping those goalkeepers honest, it ends up giving you a little bit more space in behind the back line and before the goalkeeper. It keeps the goalkeeper from shifting into sort of a keeper sweeper kind of play.
Okay, so maintain the tension and the pressure, right?
Yep.
On the keeper, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'd like to move on to another player on Özil, because I know that, there was a lot expected from him and he's maybe being a bit disappointing, this season. But last game he did pretty good. And yesterday, I saw him much more and he was involved. I wrote down that he was involved in almost each goal that was scored, while he was on the pitch. Because it's a foul against him that gave us the free kick that led to the first goal. He kicked the corner that led to the second goal. He did an amazing dribbling before passing to Di Maria, who would then assist on the third goal. He got the penalty that Cristiano scored, and he passed to Arbeloa, who then assisted for the fifth goal. So, do you think that's a sign that he's performing better for the team, or it's just normal to expect that from a player in his position?
Well, Ozil has been performing consistently. Well, in the last discussion, the last time out when we discussed about him,
Yeah.
I said that his distribution was absolutely fantastic against Leon also, and in the last game also, I mean, his distribution was amazing. The only problem which I had was him squandering chances, him squandering goal scoring chances.
Yeah.
But then yesterday, I think he just made up for all the misses in the previous game. He was absolutely amazing last night. And
Okay.
his dribbling also, he's a quick feet. He's got quick feet, nimble feet, and his footwork is really really brilliant. He can go past players, he can whip the ball in, and he's really skillful and a very gifted player, I would say.
Yeah, it was beautiful to see because in the past matches, I had seen him maybe a little, again, messy a little bit, but yesterday he was more precise, and yeah, it was beautiful to watch.
Yes, he was really good last night.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think, in particular, his last two games have been really strong for us. I think he's the kind of footballer that sometimes disappears. Like I've talked about Di Maria being the wild card. You're always going to see him, whether he's producing the sublime or producing the ridiculous. He's going to be producing something. Mesut Ozil is more likely to sort of disappear for long periods of the game, almost like a striker sometimes disappears, only to pop up with a fantastic pass, with a wonderful combination, with a sweet little bit of dribbling. I've been noticing, actually, I think he's picking up a couple things from Ronaldo. He's always been a fantastic, technically gifted dribbler, but I think he's picking up a little bit more of these little skills from Ronaldo. That's really neat to see. We'll see if that actually pans out further, or if my prediction fails to come true. But I think he was combining really well with the team today, and that's what his job is. He's meant to be sort of the glue of this particular side. Xabi Alonso is glue from further back, and Mesut Ozil is glue further forward. So between the two of them, they should have their fingers involved in, or their toes, I suppose would be more apt, involved in just about every single goal we score.
Okay.
So it's great to see him really combining. I think he has the ability to be ruthless in front of goals, or in front of the goal. We've seen him score some fantastic goals for our side. He put that goal past Barcelona that I probably woke up my neighbors screaming in joy about. So he has that ability. Sometimes, especially midfielders, but it strikes strikers. It hits strikers as well. You just go through patches where you're not putting the goal in the back of the net, Luckily, he is a midfielder, so his ability to assist and to provide combinations is what really gives him his confidence. When he's able to score these opportunities that he's getting, that's only going to make him an even better player. But in the meantime, we're still really blessed to have a player as strong as Ozil suiting up for us day in and day out. Fatigue gets to him a little bit more than other players. He's usually the one that Mourinho is subbing off.
Yeah.
But I think, Germany definitely has already qualified. I'm blanking on the name. Joachim Low, the coach for the German national team, is actually very progressively minded when it comes to the relationship between a player's obligation to the national team and the club team. So he's much more likely to give Ozil sort of a bit of a rest break in this international break, give him a chance to recharge his batteries, considering the fact that Germany's not playing in a very important matches. So we're likely to see him come back ready to go, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's capable of, scoring a goal or two in the next match he plays for Real Madrid.
Oh, so we'll see if that happens.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, Pekshi, do you want to add anything, or should I move on to the next question?
Yeah, well, I would just like to say that Ozil, I mean, technically he's a very, very gifted player. You do not find too many players like Mesut Ozil.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would just like to say that technically he's head and shoulders above the rest.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
barring Cristiano Ronaldo.
I'm sorry. What?
Barring Cristiano Ronaldo, of course. Ronaldo is obviously a little better than Mesut Ozil when it comes to technique.
Okay. Okay, I understand now. Yeah.
Who's this Ronaldo guy? What team does he play for?
Ronaldo.
Kidding.
I was like, what's going on here?
Wow, that joke went like a lead balloon.
Oh, you're a little joker, Aaron. I was like, what's going on? He's joking or he's actually asking? I was wondering if it was like a pronunciation problem. Yeah. Okay, great. Moving on. Oh yeah, okay. The goal that Osasuna scored. So I don't think I need to recap for you guys. You saw it, right? Like Madrid was busy trying to get Pepe back on the pitch, taking advantage of the game being stopped for a free kick for Osasuna, I think it was. And I don't know, I don't remember seeing the ref actually telling them to go ahead. But what happened is that they were very cunning about it, and they thought, okay, well, they're busy doing something else, complaining to the ref. We're going to play, and they scored. So I was wondering if you think the ref should have canceled that goal, or he had actually given the green light, so he couldn't do that. And in any case, even if the goal was legit, do you think it was fair play from Osasuna to do that? How did you feel about that?
Well, I thought that the goal was absolutely disgraceful,
Okay.
Osasuna shouldn't have done that, but then desperate times call for desperate measures, So, players can take a free kick quickly, but then the rule says that you have to have permission from the referee, which I don't think they had yesterday.
Okay.
And the referee should have taken his time and cancelled the goal out, which he did not do. So I thought it was absolutely disgraceful to actually do that. And this once again reminds us of the importance of quality refereeing, Well, one wrong decision by the referee can actually lead to a huge fight,
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised that there was I was happily surprised there was no violence because.
Yeah, so the referee is supposed to maintain decorum, which I think he failed to do yesterday.
Okay. I thought that he would actually cancel the goal and give a yellow card, because I've seen that happen sometimes when the ref thinks that the player like overstepped, some boundaries, they just give a yellow card as a warning. Like, you don't go and do that. But no, he gave them the goal and everything was fine. I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? But, Pepe did a good job at giving the justice back to us, so it was okay.
Yeah, Pepe scored after 4 minutes, so
Yeah.
it was revenge.
Yeah, and he was kind of indirectly involved in the Osasuna's goal, so it was nice that it came from him.
Yes, and one more thing I would just like to add, the referees, they can take their time, they can go over to the linesmen and consult them, but then this was one instance where the referee had no need to consult the linesman, but then the rules state that the referees can take their time. There's absolutely no hurry. What matters is the right decision. That's what matters the most.
Okay. Aaron?
Well, I haven't ever had the opportunity to be in charge of a match of professional caliber. I did some reffing when I was younger. I think the oldest players I ever had was 16-year-olds. So I can't quite understand where Alfonso Alvarez Izquierdo was coming from, but I don't think he did a particularly good job with this match yesterday. I think in particular he seemed very hesitant to let Pepe on, which makes sense sometimes, particularly when it's Barcelona, of course. What will happen is a player will fall down, delay the game, sort of fake an injury. As soon as they get to the sideline, they're magically ready to come back on. But if you look at how the play unfolded in the game, Pepe was fouled. The ref actually called the foul, but played advantage, which you could see by the indication of his arms that he was playing advantage, which was a poor decision on his part because immediately after he played advantage, Pepe coughed up the ball, which really that should have been called back and been a free kick there. Pepe ended up on the ground. He was hurt. Real Madrid gained no advantage from Pepe being down on the ground because play continued despite. So there was no advantage from Pepe, quote unquote, being injured. I don't know how hurt Pepe was, but it felt like the ref was trying to be punitive in this case, which I didn't really understand because, again, he saw that there was a foul that took place. He saw that Pepe, it looked like his Achilles was raked by the Osasuna player.
Yeah.
But then with the actual free kick itself, I think it was very problematic. I think it should have been called back, not necessarily because Pepe wasn't allowed to get onto the field, because there's nothing that says that, the Osasuna team has to wait for Real Madrid to set their defense or anything of that sort. If you are fouled, there's no reason you should receive the disadvantage of having to slow down the play. You should absolutely be able to immediately restart the play if you see an advantage. I thought it was ridiculous that Xabi Alonso got that yellow for pretty much the same thing in a previous game.
Exactly.
But I think the yellow card that Xabi Alonso received was idiotic, not this particular decision to let the game be played, except for the fact that there was a Osasuna player down on the ground injured. In that case, play should not be allowed to restart. He was actually in the middle of the arc at the top of the 18. It was it Nino? Was the Osasuna player that had received the foul that was actually the foul that was called that gave Osasuna the free kick. While he was still down on the pitch, ostensibly injured, Osasuna played the ball, scored the goal. I thought that was incredibly classless on
and
Osasuna.
Misleading, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Because when a player is down on the pitch, play is supposed to be stopped. the Real Madrid players could see the player down on the pitch. Of course, anyone would assume you're not going to play while you have a player injured lying on the ground. But in fact, the referee allowed the play continue. I thought it was a horrible decision on his part, but it ended up sparking that fire in Real Madrid. The reason it didn't come to fisticuffs was because Real Madrid, the players decided, okay, we'll beat you on the pitch. We'll score 6 more goals on you, show you what's what. So in the end, I think if I was doing winners and losers, it would definitely be the Osasuna entire squad on the losers list, because I thought that was an incredibly classless move. I don't think the goal should have counted, but a lot of Madridistas were upset because Pepe wasn't allowed back on the field, which is questionable in itself, but that wouldn't have been a reason to call back the kick, in my mind.
Okay. Apeksha, do you want to add something?
Yeah, well, I would just like to say that the referees, they have to be consistent, If they're not consistent, then it can lead to a lot of problems, So the referees, they have to be consistent. There's absolutely no other way out for them,
Okay.
What do you mean by that in particular, consistency?
Well, I mean to say that suppose if a referee gives a yellow card for tugging the shirt, and when the same thing actually happens again, the tugging, he should produce a yellow card, So this is called a consistency. If the referees are not consistent, it can lead to fights, which the fans obviously do not want to see,
Well, I think it's important that consistency is confined to just a particular game. I don't think it's necessarily important that because Xabi Alonso received a yellow card in another match, that the Osasuna player, I can't remember the name of the free kick taker, should receive a yellow card in this match. I think that's an impossible standard to require. I think what's crucial is that there's consistency within a match. If Real Madrid had a similar sort of scenario and their goal had been called back, then I would absolutely agree that would be an issue. But I think as far as consistency went, the referee in this particular match didn't have any particular issues with that, in my mind, unless you can remember a particular moment where you think he lacked consistency.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to say, that it depends on the referee also, So when a referee is actually in charge of a game, he should be consistent, That's what I meant,
Okay.
So you felt he wasn't yesterday for other falls or plays?
Well, when it comes to consistency, I thought the referee was consistent, but then that goal which they scored, I thought that should have been cancelled. But then that cannot be counted as consistency. It was a poor decision by the referee.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I still had plenty of questions, but we're running out of time because unfortunately I have to go to an appointment. Well, I'm going to be late, but it doesn't matter. But I still want you to comment on 2 things though. What do you make of Higuaín and Benzema playing together? It wasn't on purpose, because I think Benzema was warming up right before Di Maria got injured, and he would have probably come on the pitch for Higuaín, but then it turned out differently, but it gave us the opportunity to see them play together. So what do you make of what you saw? And also, Sahin finally debuted with the team. And again, did you like what you saw? Was it too little? And also, I thought that Xabi would come out, and he didn't. So the poor guy is like playing all the time. But Sahin we finally saw him. So what did you think?
Yeah, we did see glimpses of Sahin yesterday. He actually came on the 67th minute, and finally, it was a great boost for the Real Madrid fans. Seeing him after a long time, and I think he can really play a huge role. This season. He played a pivotal role in Borussia Dortmund winning the Bundesliga last season. So I think he can play the same role again for us. And as far as Higuain and Benzema are concerned, I thought they were fine. They were both fine. But then I think Higuain's goal, which he scored in the 40th minute, was really, really good. The way he curled the ball past the keeper. And there's a problem now. Higuain started the game and he scored only once. And Benzema, he came on in the second half and he scored twice. So I think, I think in the next game, Higuain will be looking to make it up, and I think he's going to be selfish in the next game. This is what I'm predicting now.
Well, I think for me, I'll try to be as quick as possible, even though I'm a very lengthy speaker. I think for me, seeing Benzema and Higuain on the pitch at the same time was very interesting. I would still like to see them in something closer to a 4-4-2, as traditional as that sounds, because really what ended up happening was Benzema ended up playing out wide, which I think he has all of the traits necessary to make a fantastic sort of winger style player. He has the technical ability, he has the pace, he has the power. I don't know if his crossing is up to snuff, but obviously he was effective in the match. He was able to score 2 goals, so that's always great to see. It was really, really nice to finally see the two of them together. I think Mourinho is going to be very hesitant to make that any sort of habitual move, because those are the two out and out strikers that we have on our squad. So you always want to be able to hold one of them in your pocket just in case, unless something goes really wrong and we're really trying to push for a goal at the end of the match. With Nuri Sahin, it was fantastic. Like Apakshit said, it was great, for the Madridistas to get a chance to see him playing. He didn't get to play too much of the game, which is to be expected. He didn't play fantastically, which is to be expected. He's still trying to gel with the team. You could see that his timing on the passes were a little bit off, but there were flashes of brilliance, which is precisely what you want to see. If you're a Madrid fan, you want to see sort of him showing you that he has that potential to really become an imposing figure on our side. I think Mourinho still has to figure out whether or not Sahin and Alonso can play together in the same side, or if Sahin is Alonso's sort of understudy. I think with this particular game, it was okay that Xabi didn't get too much rest, considering I keep harping on this international break, but it keeps becoming crucial because Xabi's going to get a rest during that as well, likely. So if you take Xabi Alonso out, that really, really changes the fundamental nature of our team. So if you make that kind of huge shift and then throw Sahin in, that's maybe putting a little bit too much pressure on the young Turk, which you're trying to avoid, especially when he's just coming back from a major injury. Try to get the team playing as natural as possible and give him to kind of add a little bit and not feel compelled to, run our midfield from minute 1, if that makes sense. So great to see, Sahin stepping on the pitch, though. Long time coming.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like, finally, yeah. And it was funny. I mean, Apeksha, I don't know if you got to see that. I thought of you a lot when that happened, because at some point towards the end, we got a free kick, and so Alonso, Cristiano, and Sahin, got together trying to decide who was going to kick it. And you can see that Cristiano's like ready to go, and Alonso is talking to him, like saying something I gather was, no, let Sahin do it. And so Cristiano steps back a little, but he stays close. And after a while, just, okay. And he goes, to another position, but like, it was a bit hard for him to let go, I thought it was a funny moment.
Okay, I did not see that, but then I think Ronaldo, he shouldn't be taking free kicks from 45 yards out, It's always it's always a sign of the selfishness, and most of his free kicks they crash against the wall, and we waste chances like that, So,
Yeah.
so I think we should try and whip the ball in from there and throw bodies in the box so that we can score in the box,
Yeah. Well, Sahin missed, but it was okay. Aaron, you saw that?
Yeah, I saw that. I think it was not quite, 40 yards out. It was definitely the kind of opportunity that Cristiano would love to have, and he definitely spent a couple extra seconds standing by the ball. But it really brought a smile to my face to see that they gave Sahin the chance to take a swing at that ball. I thought it was a decent attempt. It wasn't too wide. We've certainly seen Ronaldo do worse with the ball in the same position. So I'm not going to criticize him for a poor kick. He got a good amount of bend on the ball. If he had just tweaked the positioning of the shot a little bit, that could have been a goal. That was definitely asking questions of the Osasuna keeper. I think I agree with Apakshit that I'd like to see Ronaldo in the box a little bit more with those free kicks from further out, because as he demonstrated in this match, he is a fantastic aerial threat. We have quite a few members of this squad that are very physically imposing, that are able to go up, win those balls in the air, and put it on frame. So it would be nice to see a little bit more of that and a little bit less of I'm going to take a shot as hard as I can and try to destroy the keeper. So, I definitely agree that I would like to see that a little bit more. But again, it was fantastic to see Sahin get a chance of that and put in a decent shot.
Yeah,
That's very uplifting. Like I said, put a great big grin on my face.
Yeah. Well, I would just like to add a little. I was watching the Barcelona game yesterday, Bilbao versus Barcelona, and Fernando Llorente. He was a threat throughout the match yesterday. And I think when we play against Barcelona, we should just try and whip crosses in. We should throw our bodies in the box. That's the way we can beat them. And the Copa del Rey final also, Ronaldo, he scored from a cross, and we won the Copa del Rey.
Okay.
So yeah, Barcelona defenders, they're not tall, they're short. So when we whip the balls in, we can surely score that way. And they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle against physical presence. And Ronaldo has that physical prowess. Physical presence.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
keep
so
that in mind for the next Clásico.
yeah, so
Well,
this is a great way of beating them. I reckon.
It's also important, though, that we don't try to shift the personality of our squad too much just for the Barcelona game, because, we are a quality side. We have to be able to impose at least part of ourselves on the match. When you play a truly top tier side like a Barcelona, like a Manchester United, it's important that you don't shift entirely to a different play style. You want to be able to adapt some, but you still want to maintain your identity, because when you ask a team to do a fundamentally different thing, it's kind of working against their instincts, and you don't quite get optimum efficiency. I don't want to see us become a team that's just, bearing down on the flank and chipping balls into the box, because Barcelona is a fairly short team, and they definitely struggle a little bit in the air against a side like ours. But as far as strikers go, Higuain and Benzema both are aerial threats, but they're not the kind of aerial threat that, say, a Pepe or a Ramos is.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see Pepe and Ramos hanging back for the most part when it comes to being in the box against a Barcelona-style team. On set plays, absolutely send them forward, but they have to be able to get back and provide that strong defensive backbone, because otherwise Barcelona will just punish us.
Aaron, I think you need to relax a little. That's what I meant. That's precisely what I meant. I'm not trying to say that we should commit our defenders also forward in the box. Because Barcelona can break quickly. The speed at which they break is really, really frightening. So I'm just trying to say that the midfielders can probably push up and the defenders should stay back, because their pace is really, really frightening. That's what I meant.
Oh, definitely. I wasn't assuming that you were saying we should play with a one-man back line. But at the same time, that the opportunity of really striking in the air against Barcelona is only really realized if you have those aerial threats up front, which we don't. There's a reason that Adebayor played against Barcelona, and it wasn't because he was a fantastic footballer. It was because he was a big guy, and Mourinho is trying to take advantage of that. And I think with the players that we have consistently up the pitch, that I don't think in the run of play we're really going to be able to threaten Barcelona in the air all that frequently. But perhaps that's a discussion for another time.
Good transition. Okay, well, just the last question. Pekshit, you already answered that quite a little bit, but you can restate it. And Aaron, I don't think you said who you thought was the man of the match in your opinion.
Yeah, I would just like to stick to it. As I said earlier, for me the man of the match was Di Maria. He was absolutely fantastic last night. I hope he recovers soon. And this break is it's a blessing in disguise for him. He can take some rest, recharge his battery, and then I hope we get to see the best of him.
Okay, good job. I agree.
Okay.
Well, I want to send a shout out to two players that weren't necessarily my man of the match, but I think both had very understated play, but definitely very important. Of course, Xabi Alonso always is making our team tick, and when we have fantastic performances like this, you can likely thank Xabi Alonso. And maybe he wasn't man of the match, but he's in the top three. And along those same lines, Arbeloa, I think, had a fantastic match. Again, not man of the match, but he's probably right up there with Xabi Alonso in the 2-3 spot. My number one, Cristiano Ronaldo. I know he's the one that's usually grabbing the limelight, but I think really in this game he was decisive. I know Apakshit was talking how, Di Maria had those 3 assists and those were fantastic assists. But besides that, and that's a major besides that, I didn't feel like he contributed much more to the match besides his dogged play. I think Cristiano Ronaldo was the one that was truly decisive, even though one of his hat-trick goals was off a penalty that he didn't necessarily earn himself.
Yeah, no, he did.
Azaroso.
Yeah. Well, Arbeloa had, I don't remember, I have my notes somewhere. I think it's at least 2 or maybe 3 assists. Yes, well, 2.
He had 2 assists.
Yeah,
yep.
2. So yeah, definitely can make it to the top 3. Okay, so can we call it a day, or do you want to add a short thing, or are we good?
Yeah, I would just like to add something.
Go ahead. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yesterday I was really happy, but then it just did not stay for too long, because Barcelona, they were almost losing, they almost lost yesterday.
Yeah, they did.
The score was 2-1, and in the dying seconds of the game, Bilbao just threw the game away.
Yeah.
And Messi scored. It was a bad mistake from the goalkeeper. So it's good to see them losing once in a while, because they just keep on winning, all the time.
Yeah, we couldn't have the same luck as we had, the bad luck that they had against, who was, I don't remember the team, but you remember what match I'm talking about, right? When they were playing, when there was a lot of extra time and they got a penalty in the extra time, Barcelona, and the 2 teams fought.
Sevilla, the match against Sevilla.
Yeah, I think it's what it is.
Yeah, the match against Sevilla. Okay, but yeah. There was a player who was sent off in the dying seconds of the game.
Yeah, exactly. And it was Messi, I think, that missed the penalty after that.
Messi,
so.
Yes.
So we Real Madrid supporters got lucky there, and we cannot get lucky every time.
Yeah, but then we now have a lead of 3 points, and 2 weeks off. I think when we start playing again, I think we should pick up where we left off from, and we should just keep on winning.
Okay. Well, yeah, Aaron?
I better not talk about the Barcelona-Bilbao game because that would be a whole separate hour conversation right there.
No, please.
No. I know you got places to be. So I think definitely Bilbao was unlucky not to come out of that match with a win. They were sort of playing against 12 men, as sometimes happens when Barcelona is playing. The man with the whistle seemed to be wearing a red and blue kit. But, it is important to realize that they dropped 2 points there, and that's definitely a good thing for us. At the end of the day, a tie isn't quite as good as a loss, but a tie is very significant in a race that's likely to be very close. But yeah, I will table that discussion. I want to spend 10 seconds praising Higuaín's goal, though, because I thought that was the classiest goal of a match with a lot of goals. I thought that the way he received the ball, made a little bit of space, and just stuck that ball away was beautiful. That was my moment of the match, if you ask me. And again, I couldn't get out of this conversation without spending at least a second talking about how beautiful that was.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, well, I'm very sorry I have to cut you off, both of you. It was really nice. Pekshit, as usual, thank you so much for being here. Always nice talking to you. And Aaron,
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Aaron, it was really, really nice to get to meet you on the Q&A. And I hope you had a nice time, both of you. And I surely learned a lot. Yes?
Thank you both for the conversation.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Aaron. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you to the listeners for listening. I have to leave right now, but we'll try to put it up as fast as possible later on today.
All right. Okay.
Okay,
Take care,
so Pekshit, I would say roughly good night, good evening for you. Aaron, have a good day, and and talk to you or read you very soon. Okay.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
This was a Madridismo.org production.